them that after being delivered from Egypt, they were just about 11 days journey from the promised land. God needed to prepare them mentally, spiritually, and even socially for their new occupation. All in all, they were free from the bondage of Egypt, but the impact of their slavery was still in them. You do know you can free the body, but if you don't free the mind and the spirit, you're still enslaved. Moses shares with this new generation that God spoke to him after he had defeated some of their enemies. God told him that they had dwelt at the mountain long enough, and it was now time to possess the promise. God saw that they had hung out long enough. He saw that they waited long enough. He saw that they had been patient long enough, and it is now time for them to move forward. By verse 40, though, they were told, never mind. Turn around and go back into the wilderness. And here they were now, 40 years after receiving the go-ahead, still in the same place. They were stuck in the same conditions, stuck in the same position, stuck in the same wilderness. But there is good news. Moses wants them to know that once again we've received a fresh email from heaven. Once again we've gotten a tweet from God. Once again he hit us up on Facebook and said, you've been at the mountain long enough. It's time to move forward. Tell somebody that you're really connected to. It don't have to be the person beside you, but somebody you can connect to on the other side of the room and tell them we've been here long enough. I'm not talking about your membership. I'm talking about where you are spiritually. We've been here long enough. It's time to move forward. Tell somebody you got to get up out of that sin and get up out of that mindset and get up out of that pity party. You've been at that mountain long enough. You've been sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, waiting for somebody to anoint you and approve you, make you feel good about yourself. The devil is a lie. You've been at the mountain long enough. This is what I hear God speaking to all of us on tonight, because we can never lose sight of the fact that he is a God of movement. One of the very first descriptions you'll ever find of God in Genesis is that the Lord God moved upon the face of the deep.
Come on.
Basically what it means to us is that our God is a God of movement. And sometimes our churches become stagnant because we like what we do so much we don't want to do anything different than what we do. And once we experience a little bit of success at something, we have a tendency to try to recreate what we were successful at simply because we're so proud of the success that we've had.
Well,
but what we don't understand is that he's a God of movement. And therefore what worked yesterday doesn't necessarily work today.
That's right.
And although we have 30 years tonight as we celebrate 30 years of success behind us, there's a lot more movement to go forth in front of us. I wish I had a witness here. Jesus wants you and I to enter a place where we can experience life and have it more abundantly. And you can act like you have it all together if you want to, but I know every person, every family, every ministry, every generation needs to move past some things. Because many of us right now are still stuck at the fireplace because we can't get past some things. Many of us can't move into the destiny because we can't get past some things. But we serve a God of movement, so he wants us to move past some things. Not only that, he wants us to move beyond some things. There are some people in your life that is not that you're better than them, but you need to move beyond them so that you can do what God is calling you to do. Sometimes you've got to move forward through some tunnels and move across some wide rivers. See, the troubles and struggles that believers are facing today are real. You just can't be soft and be no Christian today. If you're going to be a Christian today, you have to be strong. Or as they used to say, strong. You got to be strong. And because the troubles that we face are real troubles, and some of these problems are old and seasoned, and we look at it and wonder what is going on even in the church. Couples still struggling with trust issues from 10 years ago. Wives still complaining and husbands still fussing. Ministries are still in crisis because saints haven't grown or developed from their problems. Adults still acting like children, and children thinking they know everything. Choirs in chaos over who's singing and what to sing. Pews emptying because church is the pit stop rather than the destination. Parents trying to live through their kids because they didn't have a childhood. Still complaining about your job. Still angry over your love life or the lack of one. Still carrying around the dead weight of your old friends. They're pulling you down rather than you pulling them up. Still in debt, still unemployed, still angry, still depressed, still fighting with your baby's daddy or your baby's mama. Still playing games with the devil while claiming to love Jesus. After all these years and all this word, when you look around, some of the saints are still mean, still haughty, still naughty, still arrogant, still hard-headed, still disrespectful, still nosy, still backbiting, still a skirt chaser, still a sanctuary flirt, still an emotional wreck, still a day late and a dollar short, still making excuses for living beneath their privilege, still tired, still talk too much, still lazy, still promiscuous, still a nag, still an attention hog, still ungrateful, still doubtful, still unapproachable, still unteachable, still behind the times, still a deadbeat dad, still a trifling mother, still an unfaithful spouse, still an abusive home, still neglectful, still reckless, still stuck in the same place. I know like me, you wonder, how could y'all still be stuck in these things under all this word we're sitting up under? How could you still be living the same way with all the gospel that's preached before us? But there are some who are still stuck at the mountain. I come to tell you, God is ready to move us out of this quicksand. It's wearing you down. You've lost your zeal and it's sapping you of all your energy. And I'm taking Jesus at his word tonight. I want to have a life and I want to have it more abundantly. That's why tonight, I don't know how you feel about it. I believe that the blessings of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. I believe that the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. I believe that there's no good thing that he will uphold from them that walk upright. I believe that surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I believe that if I wait on the Lord and be of good courage, he'll strengthen my heart. I know many of you are pressing your way each week, but we need to stop and give God some praise because we believe that we've been at the mountain too long. While you press and pray and press, and while you're asking God, when are you going to receive your breakthrough? I'm so glad to tell you tonight that the Lord is telling us that we've been here long enough.
Long enough.
The curse, the punishment, the delay, the standby is over. But before we rejoice, we need to know what happened that caused the delay in the first place. What do we do to avoid falling in the same trap that God's children fell into, that caused him to tell them, turn around and go back?
My God.
If we look at this text a little bit closer, as we look at Deuteronomy, I'm excited for the nation as Moses delivers the good news. You see, one of the things that I'm most excited about was how God blessed in difficult times. Remember when Jacob moved to Egypt, where his son Joseph was in charge, they were just a family. And they are now a nation. Y'all missed that. When they first got there, they were a clan. They were just a small family. Yeah. But now they are a nation. It shows you that even in oppression, God can bless. Yes. Even in rough times, yes, God can bless. Yes. Pastor Lennon said it best when he said that you got to go through all of this in order to be what God wants you to be in the first place. Yeah. They went in a small family. They came out a full nation. It is in your struggle that God grows you. It's in your struggle that he expands you. It's in your struggle that he stretches you into what he has promised. He promised Abraham that they would be a nation, and he used their Egyptian experience to do that. And even after wandering for 40 years, the Lord is faithful to his promises. Yes, as Moses is speaking to this generation, he shares with them their history. He says if they're going to move forward, they need to be keenly aware of how they came to be stuck in the first place. It is here that we find answers to our why and how questions. It is here that we learn the ways of God and what displeases him. It is here that we need to figure out where we stand with the Lord even on tonight. So Moses wants to make sure that this new generation is aware that just because they were born in the wilderness doesn't mean that they were destined for the wilderness. Let me say that again for those of you who think you ain't never going to make it out. Just because you were born in the hood don't mean you're destined for the hood.
Right.
Just because you were born in poverty doesn't mean you're destined for poverty. Just because you were born with a physical infirmity doesn't mean you're destined to keep a physical infirmity. Just because you're born with problems doesn't mean that you were destined to keep those problems. Just because your parents couldn't manage a relationship doesn't mean you can't manage a relationship. Just because that one friend abandoned you doesn't mean the next one will abandon you. Just because you experienced a wilderness season doesn't mean that there's no paradise in your future. So Moses lets them know that just because you were born in the wilderness, I don't want you to think that God intended for you to stay in the wilderness. No, you've been at this mountain long enough. So Moses wants them to know what happened so that in the next few weeks they could enter the promises of God. There were 5 things that their parents and grandparents did that set them back from 11 days to 40 years. Today we've come to break these habits and be well assured that if we just do what God told us to do, and we follow him like he tells us to follow him, that the Lord will bless our families and our church and build up that which he has destined for us to be. He has called for us, destined us, and promised that we will live in the promised land. He has promised to put us in places with houses that we did not build, and to glean from vineyards that we did not plant, to be able to drink fresh water from wells that we did not dig. He promised to give us everything that we would ever need. There is no need for any child of God or any saint of God or any ministry of God to struggle beyond reason because God has already promised to take care of us. Jesus picked it up and said, let me tell you something. Upon this rock I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. Now they may attack, but they won't prevail. They may show up, but they won't prevail. They may shout out, but they won't prevail. And what we've got to learn is that we've been in the mountain long enough. Moses, tell us, what did they do? What were the things that they did that got them in trouble in the first place? Moses said the first thing that they did that got them in trouble was they relapsed in their thinking after making a good start. You see, they were delivered from slavery, and Moses and his rookie army began defeating some smaller armies. And he set up leaders among the tribes to establish organization and government. They received the word from God to move to the promised land, and now they began having second thoughts. Doubt began to creep into their minds, and they began to behave not as a delivered people, but as a bound people. You got to be careful about relapsing into old thinking. When God starts delivering you have to think different. That's why sometimes you got to change your friends. Sometimes you got to change your company, because if you're used to hanging out with the I can't crowd, you ain't never going to get ahead till you start hanging out to the we will crowd. And so they started to relapse in their thinking. Tell somebody, watch how you think. Watch how you think. Watch how you think. Watch how you think. The second problem that they had after relapsing in their thinking is that they refused God's plan to Moses. Moses told the people, we have arrived at the place where God is ready to move us. In verse 21 of the first chapter, Moses tells the people to go and possess the land. Now, if I can pause here for a moment, this generation got a problem with go and possess. This generation wants to sit and have it brought to them. But God said, no, that's not how I work. I've already got it prepared for you, but you got to get up off your rusty dusty and go get it. I'm not just going to bring it on a silver platter to you. If you want deliverance, it's available, but you got to do something. If you want healing, it's available, but you got to do something. He told them, we are here. And in verse 22, they reject that plan. They restructure the leader's plan with their own plan. You got to be careful restructuring what the leader tells you to do. Because the leader gets his instructions from heaven. You got your instructions out of fear. The leader gets his instructions from God. You got your instructions out of your emotions. And we know when we operate off of emotions, we make some foolish choices. So So they said, let's send scouts into the land and find out what we're up against. Moses says, that sounds like a good idea. Let's scout it out so that I can show you what God has prepared for us. And with that plan, we're going to hear a good report and we're going to go in and possess. And when God is on our side, it doesn't matter who you're up against.